another episode of Men in Marriage. This is episode number 5. I'm your host, Lamar Dixon. Today I have a guest, Lorenzo Hawkins. He is the host of Tennessee Titans Weekly, as well as From a King's Point of View. Welcome, brother.
Thank you. Thank you kindly, sir. Thank you. Thank
No
you.
problem. I appreciate you for coming on.
Yes,
I've
sir.
known Lorenzo since 94, 95.
Yep. It's a long time,
Yeah,
man.
long
I
time, man.
had hair. I had hair at the time. You still have yours, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, as always, with this particular platform, Men in Marriage, we're talking about men and our marriage experiences. I ask 3 separate questions, and then after those 3 questions, then we get into some dialogue, some open discussion, and feel free to ask me questions as well as we go along.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So before we get into the 3 questions, first question that I'm going to ask you is, how long have you been married?
I've been married for 9 years.
9 years.
9 years. Yep. 9 years.
Good. A
Yep.
good 9 wonderful years, right, brother?
Yes, it has. And you have ups and downs of anything,
absolutely.
but for the most part, yeah, 9 years, man. 9 years. Yep.
And how many children do you all have?
4 children. We have 4. So me and my wife both come from previous marriages. So this is our second marriage. Going into the marriage, she had a daughter and I had 2 sons, and we have a daughter together, but all 4 of them are with us primarily. So we have 4 here every day, all day. It's been like that, for the whole 9 years, man. So
Good deal. Good deal.
yeah, man. Yep. I don't know if you can play this out. Your screen is frozen. All right, now you're back. I'm not sure what happened. Sometimes it does that, man.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there either. Hopefully, it won't continue to do that.
Yeah.
But all right, well, let's jump right into it, man.
Okay. Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
So I sent you, the preliminary questions up front, just so you can just get a baseline of where we're going to be talking about. So the first question is, what were your expectations before marriage?
I would say my expectations before marriage was, to have a partner that, you're going to have differences because you come from different backgrounds. You have 2 imperfect people, coming together. So you're going to have that up front. But, my expectations is to have a life partner that, would be, 100% down with me and vice versa, of course. We have shared visions, shared spirituality, family structure, finances, you're going to have a spender and a saver, that's just sort of the dynamic for most relationships and marriages, but to have at least a common ground in that regard, wanting to have someone that, that will support me and I'll be able to give them that support as well. I'm a supportive person in general. I like to don myself as an unselfish person, and sometimes to a fault, but definitely wanted someone to provide their support because I am involved in a lot of things, with my children, my career. I'm constantly doing a lot of things, and having someone that can support that is very important. And I wanted that, and then even as well, again, with children, I had 2 sons that I had and that I have. And, wanting someone to, be there as well, and because, on the other hand, too, it's possible, any woman that what I've met would have had children as well, too. So, that's something I would have to work on as well, too, stepping into like a step family, if that was the choice.
Right.
And so that support system, family structure, a positive mindset, those are the things that I looked at as far as my expectations before marriage, before I ended my singledom, to sort of shut me down. Okay. So, for a while prior to, being single, working hard, raising children, having a lot of fun as well, just kicking it, doing different things, learning a lot about myself. I wanted to make sure I was healed first. I didn't want to just jump immediately into something. I wanted to give it some time as much as I could. So,
right.
So those are my expectations, man, before I got married. So yeah, man, that's for me. Lamar, you share some of those same thoughts? Anything same or different?
No, absolutely. Say exactly the same things. And I think that one of the things that you mentioned, which was very good, was about you saying that you wanted to make sure that you were healed before you jumped into a marriage yourself.
Right.
I think that most men, I would say, who before they go into marriage, they want to say that they're in a place of that they're ready. That everybody say that they feel like they're ready to get married now. They,
Yeah.
financially they're stable.
Yeah.
Mentally they're stable, and they feel like they can, support a family because nobody want to go. Oh man, don't really want to jump into a marriage,
Right.
and they don't feel comfortable supporting a family because that's a lot of responsibility.
Really is, man. It,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is. It is. It is. And one thing marriage will do to you too, it exposes your weaknesses
mhm,
because you're with a person every day, right?
right,
And before you're married, you don't really realize that, right? Even for those that might live together, have so like a trial period, I guess. But I guess for me, once you get married, it's weird, but I think things change, and maybe if you are a person, maybe someone say if you're an insecure person, you might not realize you're insecure until you get married, or you're a person that's a jealous person, things like that.
right,
And it covers a whole multitude of things. If there is something, say a weakness that you have, it sort of brings that out when you're married. It's like, okay, these are some things I need to work on. A lot of times that might be after the marriage, but you don't realize that sometimes until you get married. When you're living with someone and dealing with them every single day, you're going to have those challenges. But my expectations coming to a marriage was all in good faith. I did not want to marry for the wrong reason. I wasn't marrying off, my wife being pregnant before we were married, because that didn't even happen. You know what I'm saying? And
right,
um, you know, the type of life that I have, I'm in a lot of things. That support was very important for me. And so yeah, that was an expectation, not for it to be perfect, but I have good intentions, man. I'm not a
good
person of bad
intentions.
intentions. I have good intentions for, my wife or anyone that I would have married. I would have had going into that a good intention. And I wanted to, before I got married, I was like, whoever I marry, I really want to be a good husband to them. And, again, we all make mistakes. It's certain things, everyone's going to make, but generally, one to be really good for my spouse.
Right, right. And jumping off of the set core questions, I had another question that you just mentioned.
Okay.
You was talking about, it made me think about a previous discussion that I've had on a previous episode, was that uh, your core values and things of that nature, those were instilled into you as
Yes.
a young man growing up in your family household, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So those things are some of the things that you saw growing up, whether it be your parents or grandparents or uncles and aunts and stuff like that. So those some you wanted to mirror some of those
Yeah.
traits, I would say, but you knew what you wanted to do and what you didn't want to do, correct?
Well, I tell you this. I didn't say from a mirroring standpoint. My mother and father had divorced when I was a young age.
Mm,
My dad, was out the house. So growing up, I did not have my father at the house. My mom did remarry to my stepfather. I was toward the end of my high school term. So a good from 6 years old up to about 17, it was just me, my brother, sister, and my mom,
mhm.
so didn't really have a male figure in the house. I had uncles, cousins, and things, so things like that. Definitely uncles that I did look up to. So I say for me, man, a lot of things that I learned was from my own experiences,
Right,
talking to friends. And I would suggest every man, we're grown up to think that we can't talk. Well,
right,
that's a lie. The devil's a liar, right? As a man, you should talk. And I think that's why generations before us were taught to be hardcore, even prior to them. And I think that's why many men end up dying of strokes and heart attacks,
right,
because they wasn't
right,
able to release that, right?
right.
So platforms like this, Lamar, and I want you to, keep pushing through it, man. These things are important to talk, to converse with other men as well, because at times you might think you're the only one going through it. Well, that's
Absolutely,
not true. Everyone goes through similar
absolutely.
situations, right? So talk it out. You're not weak for talking. You know what I mean? And sometimes men feel vulnerable even talking to their spouse, a wife, about certain things, because they don't want to seem weak, or think their wife be like, oh, he's a punk because he's sharing his feelings. And there are women that are like that, you know what I mean? And but sometimes you got to get it out there, man. You got to talk, and especially if it comes from a good place.
Absolutely. I think
Yep.
coming from, like you said, coming from a good place, it's going to be definitely well received. And
Yes, correct.
if you have, what I'm saying, the right person in your corner, then she's going to receive that. And then
That's right.
you are going to be able to have those conversations on a more, frequent basis, I would say, and,
That's right.
not shatter your ego, because, we are all about pride and ego.
Yeah, that's right. That is correct. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
So,
on that slide is right into the second question, actually,
okay.
which being you've met your wife now, and
Yep.
you've lived together for a while, for a couple of years, I would say. So now you have I'm assuming you would have a different set of expectations after you are married. So what were your
Yes.
expectations after marriage?
Well, I would say, man, for me personally, one, I love my wife dearly. So, I would definitely say that, and everything. And so, my expectations after marriage was more for growth, because
Growth.
not the same person going into it. Even going into before you get married, and then when you get married, and then after you're married, you're different. The seasons literally do change people, and the hope of change is maturity. And so my expectation was more for gradual growth. It's not even say like, even if it comes through financially, spiritually, those things, but more than anything for me, my expectation for me is for us to grow more spiritually, grow more relationally, especially when you have children. We have
Right.
children that are involved in a lot of things, 3 teenagers and an 8-year-old. They're in sports, a lot of school activities, all 4 of them, they're, 3 different schools. So, they're kind of all around. And so, having that time in marriage, spending time to maybe go out of town on a spur of the moment. I like to do very spontaneous things. I know
Right.
the
Right.
Aquarius trait, we're
Yep.
kind of, I know you're an Aquarius
Me
as well
too.
too.
Yep. I'm the same way.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I know we're kind of cerebral, weird people in that regard, but in a very good way. Because, doing those spontaneous things, I would think that, a wife would enjoy that, put the thought into them. And for me, my expectation for, my spouse is, when those things do happen, that it is appreciated, and even for myself to make sure that I show appreciation to the things that she does for me too. You know what I mean? And just having an undying love for each other, you're gonna have ups and downs. Okay.
Right.
It's inevitable. I'd say I have a alpha personality. I know I'm can be cool and kind of wild at the same time, but with those ups and downs, are you willing to fight it out? And some people quit too early. That's a lot of people get, 50% divorce rate in second marriage is 67%, right? I mean, that number's been like that for a long time. It even gets worse as you keep moving forward.
Right.
So I would say anything, man, my expectations after being married is, hey, can we grow? Can we, from where we are today, where will we be tomorrow? And I would pray that, anyone that's listening, that both spouses are at the same spot. We, again, not to be spiritually biblical, but about being equally yoked. It
Right.
really is
Right.
something to be equally yoked with each
Yeah.
other, man. If
It,
you're
it
not,
does.
it makes a difference. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, growing, man, just growing.
No, I
And
like that. So
yeah,
I thought in the previous episode also you were talking about growing, and one way that you grow is we was talking about the 5 love languages. I don't know if you've read that book or
I
so.
have.
So
Mhm.
I think that's a very good book because you actually get to know, if you didn't already know,
Yeah.
your spouses, how they like to receive love, basically.
Yep.
So if you didn't know that already, like you thought you knew before you got
Yep.
married, but then once you actually kept doing the things that you used to do and they're not receiving it the same way that they used to do because, you're in that honeymoon phase,
Right.
still dating. But as you live with somebody, like you said, for like, years, and then you start to see their habits and
Yep.
things. So if you're not receiving the same way that you received, years ago, then, hopefully you have a conversation, try to understand, like
That's
you
right.
said, grow together. So
That's
that
right.
way, we're
Yep.
we're fighting together to keep the marriage together.
That's right. And one thing I noticed too in a marriage, and I just go for me and my wife at different levels and times. At times you might not be growing at the same rate. One spouse might be, growing where the water's, they're being fertilized by water in the sun, and the other half is not.
Mhm.
And so at times you have to sort of pull up that weight. If that is the case, and being patient in things, and the prayer is, that the growth can be at the same level in many cases more than not, right?
Right.
And I think too, like, you know, you can't control your spouse's thoughts as much as we want to at times. And where to you something makes perfect sense, and for them they might not even see it. That go man or woman, right? Like
Right.
either way, and that's frustrating after after marriage. You would think, okay, well, I like doing this, so just do it often.
Mm-hmm.
But I've learned that if it's not natural for somebody, it ain't gonna happen, and it's for you
Right.
to understand that, to know if it's on purpose or not. You just never know sometimes. You
Right.
might realize later on, but communication is so key. You have to communicate. I've heard people that say that, I don't know what you think about this, Lamar. Some people say too much communication is not good. Have you heard that before? Like,
I've never heard that.
okay. What I'm
That's a new
saying is,
one.
if you continue to say the same things over and over again, how can you expect things to change sometimes, right? Sometimes it doesn't change when you want it to. So
True.
I've always looked more into talking to the rock. Okay. That's a spiritual thing, I guess, man. Like, sometimes, man, you gotta speak to God on it, man. You gotta pray about it, man. If you want something to change, especially if you have voiced your opinion on something that you want to change. Sometimes you can scream to you blue in the face. It doesn't mean it's going to happen when you want it to. It might eventually happen. It usually will happen at some time, but maybe it's not maybe it's not the situation for you at that moment. Maybe there's something that you have to do in that regard. I mean, just so many different things. But
It is. So let me ask you this question as you said that then. So say you're talking to the rock as you mentioned it,
yep,
and you've been doing this for 2 years, for example,
yep.
but nothing has changed. What do you continue to wait? Because like you said, you can't force anything upon the next person. So
Right.
do you continue to talk to the rock, or do you
Yeah.
make a change?
Yep. I think you do a little bit of both. I think you still talk to the rock, and also as well too, there might be things that maybe at times, like, can you handle it? That's the question. Whatever it is that you're really wanting, is it something you can handle for the long run? If not, then you might need to look for some outside help. Maybe go to counseling,
Right.
things like that, and maybe get counsel, from someone that, I hear a lot of people say counseling is good, bad, waste of money. I've heard all that.
All of, yeah.
Yep. I think the key to counseling is to make sure both of you are going into counseling with the thought of improving, not to prove the other person wrong.
Wrong. Right.
That's
Right.
where people get it wrong. I'm gonna take you to counseling, tell you that I'm right. Okay, well, that's not the reason to go to counseling. It's more of, okay, these are my thoughts. This is how I'm feeling. Am I tripping? That should be the thought, right? The
Yep.
counselor should say to you, yeah, you tripping, bro, or no, you're not. Your concerns are legitimate. And the prayer is, you hope that spouse receives that same word in that same energy, and then they want and have the heart to want to change that to improve the marriage. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yep. And it has to go for you too. You have to have the mature mind to say, I'm not trying to be right all the time. And I think everyone has that. I got to be right. You can't be right all the time, not all the time. And if you go to counseling, if you get help, look to improve yourself. Like, therapy and counseling helps. It's helped me in my life. You know what I'm saying?
So you've been previously, or still going right now?
Yeah, I don't still go, but I have had that. Yes, absolutely. And you realize some things that I'd even thought, like, well, maybe I was, maybe I'm tripping, and you maybe realize the counselor might say, you're not. Your thoughts are legitimate, or yeah, maybe you're tripping in this area. This is what you need to focus in on. I was like, okay, well, that's what I need to, and I have to have the mature mind to say, I'm not going to have pride to say I'm just right all the time. I have to say, okay, well, I do need to work on that. I am tripping, and I want to be better in things. So yeah, and yeah, man.
Yeah, I haven't actually gone myself, other than marital counseling when we first got married. But
okay,
I've been married now for 7 years, and I haven't been to counseling since then. But
cool. Okay.
over time, I've had counsel, I would say, between people that I trust and think, and who would steer me straight and say, yeah, you are tripping, or nah, you right on the head on this one.
Right.
So
right. Understood.
yeah, again, communication, whether it be with your spouse or somebody that you can confide in, as long as you're getting that stuff off of you, I think is good.
That's right.
But of course, you got to seek wise counsel. You can't just go talk to your single friend who's just out in the streets.
That's right.
You got to make sure you talking to the right people.
That's right. And I'd say for counsel too, you're 100% correct. And I think too, when you learn a lot, say you learn about things you can do as a person, I'm a passionate person. I think people who know me might say that about me. And sometimes, somebody might look at that as being misplaced. And I'm like, I'm not saying anything wrong, just hyped about it, whatever it might be. And some people can't take that. they might not quite understand that. And so you go to counseling, they might say, well, with your spouse or with friends or whatever, maybe that's something you could, work on. Okay, well, I'll try to work on that. And you would just pray and hope that your spouse sees those differences as a means of trying, a means of love, because that's what that is. If a person can take accountability. And I think that's the hardest part of marriage, is being accountable for your own actions.
Yeah.
Being accountable, say, I made that mistake. Even if you're wrong to your spouse, are you man enough or woman enough to say, that was on me, that's my fault, I was wrong, I was wrong, I was wrong.
That comes with wisdom.
It does come with wisdom. It comes with wisdom and time, because at one point I was not like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I was not like that. And so bumps and bruises in marriages will teach you that, and I've had that, you know what I'm saying? And so, I'm continuing to get better in that regard every day, man,
That's good stuff, man. I heard today, I was on social media and I was just on, I think, either Instagram or TikTok. I was just scrolling and looking at stuff. And one thing that I came across was a clip of this random scenery. Like somebody was actually just like showing the car being driven down a street, and somebody was doing a voiceover, and it was a pastor who was doing a voiceover. And what he was saying was like, when you go to a restaurant and you sit down and the waiter comes to you, you tell the waiter what you want to eat. If you order a steak, the waiter will ask you, okay, how do you want it prepared? You want it well done, medium, or whatever. He said, then also like, that's the restaurant aspect of it. But then if you go to a fast food restaurant, any type of restaurant, you always tell somebody what you want. And he said, the moral of the whole story was, why don't you tell your partner what you want? You tell all these other people what you want. So why don't you tell your partner what you want? They can't read your mind, and you can't read theirs. So again, going back to communication.
Yeah, that's right. Communication is key. And, you pray to have a spouse that you feel comfortable. I think that's one part of it as to why maybe someone might not. And maybe they have communicated, maybe they haven't communicated correctly, or maybe they have. And then maybe the spouse that they're communicating with might not be compatible to that spouse, or maybe not mature enough to receive that word. Sometimes maturity levels match at different times in a marriage, and again, that's about that being equally yoked, trying to, have a spouse that's, even with you in that regard, where you can say, hey, honey, this is how I feel. I feel a certain way, and you just pray that they receive that instead of taking offense to it or being defensive. Right. And saying, well, if you did this, then I would do this. And then you have an argument, you're yelling, and the next thing you know, no one's being heard. And then it's pointless. And then the more that happens, that's why I think men have grown accustomed over years just to not say anything, just be quiet and just sort of eat it. So I just think if anything now is just more of like, in the past, I know a lot of men did that, but my hope is that men get away from that. Hey, absolutely. If you feel a certain way, man, you need to say something, bro. You need to say something.
I think now in today's time, we are more open. And I say we, men, are more open to have conversations than previous generations. Go to your point that you said earlier, which is a very, very good thing. And I think that a lot of people are I don't want to say healing, but they're starting to understand that it's okay to let this stuff out.
That's right. That's right. Well, one thing I think too is platforms like YouTube has helped men tremendously. Okay. For many years, men have been just destroyed, on being dogs and being cheaters and things. And then I look back and I think of all my friends. I'm like, bro, all my homies that have wives, they take care of their families. They're great fathers, great supporters, great providers. Right. I don't hang around not one deadbeat. I'm talking about a lot of people. I mean, we're in a frat, so we know I know a lot of damn people, and it's kind of like, is that narrative true? And I think, now it's kind of like men are more like, no, we want to talk now. We want to speak to people and say, hey, we are doing our part. We are stepping up, and, we want to be loved for who we are and things like that. So platforms like YouTube has helped that, because most of the times, most men would just hold that thing in and just, they go out, go to a club and just start drinking or start doing drugs or just start just doing crazy stuff because they have so many things on their mind. It's not an excuse, but that's just how some men handle things. And, and talk that thing out, man. Talk it out. And sometimes you have to talk to a friend of you. And I wouldn't say talk to the opposite sex though. I would never advocate that, because that brings a that brings a whole swarm of issues. You know what I mean? So
I'm
you
not
want to come
disagreeing
to
with
like,
you at all on that one.
yep.
Yeah.
Because yeah, that's not a good thing. So I would say talk to a like-minded friend, man, and have a friend that wants you to win.
Right.
They don't want you to separate or divorce. They want you to win. Talk to that type of a friend, man.
Hmm.
Yep.
So I'm going to jump into the third question before we open it up for open discussion. So the
Okay.
third question is you talked about your expectations before
Yep.
marriage and after marriage. Now, from your point of view, you're 9 years into this marriage here. What would you have to say to someone who's thinking about getting married right now,
Mhm.
someone who's going through marriage right now, but maybe even thinking about divorce or separation of some sort? Or just the brother or the man who is just struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say this, man. If you're thinking about marriage or even thinking about in a situation where you feel that marriage is not working for you, I know it's a cliche, man. And I'm not saying, everybody might not be in that thought, but man, pray, man, pray. Prayer does work. And it's not to say to pray for you, for God to have his will to be done in your situation, whatever that is, right?
Hmm.
And God makes things happen. He shows you signs. There are times where maybe you have a spouse that's not doing right, and you don't even have to go search to do anything. If you're doing right by him, man, he'll present that to you. All you just need is time, right? God will reveal what you should do or should not do in the nick of time, in the due of time. And I would say for a man to always have themselves, prepare yourself at always to be the best version of yourself every day. Whatever your focus is, whatever your whatever that it is that you do, your purpose in life, make that be a goal for you. You know what I'm saying? And I've always felt when that happens, things fall into place. When you put your purpose there, and to say my purpose is to be a business owner, go ahead first with that, man. If you have a wife that understands that, she will support you.
Hmm.
And even before you get married, she would respect that. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you let it be known.
Right.
And and love your wife, 100%. Show that support even in rough times. For a man, the man controls. I know this is crazy. The man sort of controls the mood of the marriage, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Okay, we do. All right, and when you deal with wives and you deal with emotions could be one day feel this way, next day feel that way. But for a man, we have to be constant at all times. Okay, if you have a good wife, she will understand and respect that. Okay, and maybe not all women would understand that because they might want you to be as emotional as them, or maybe they don't want you to do anything or whatever. But a good man will hang in there and will fight tooth and nail to the very end, to keep their family together. Because again, I've been divorced, and it's a stink on your record, man. No matter whose fault it was when that happens, but every relationship doesn't work. And I'm blessed to be married for 9 years to my wife, and to my children and everything. I'm very blessed to have my family and have my wife, and I'm continuing to work hard to be the best man that I can be, man.
Good. No, good stuff, man. And it's funny as you were talking, something else came to my mind that I was looking at today, and I think it was I don't know who was saying it, but I was just on social media again, and what they were saying was that along the same lines was that the man controls the tone of the marriage. So
Yep.
a female is supports the male, right?
Yep. That's right.
So so the male will give, the woman receives, and she'll receive whatever it is that you're giving her, and then she'll multiply it and give it back out.
Right.
So
Right.
if you're
That's
giving her
true.
love, she'll receive the love and then return it, multiply it and give it back to you in whatever capacity that may be. But if
Right.
you're giving her frustration and pain and trouble,
Yep.
she's going to receive that and multiply it and then give that exact same energy back to you. So it
That's
all
right.
does start with man, and
That's right.
that's what I gather from that. From
I said,
a biblical standpoint,
mhm.
myself, thinking about this going through, church, um, not to be too preachy, my thought process is God, man, wife, family, everybody else, job.
Absolutely.
So if that's the order, then it is my responsibility to make sure everything under me is under control, which
That's
means
right.
that it starts with me and having my relationship with God good and tight. So that
Yeah,
way I can then, make sure everything under me is good and tight.
that's right. That's a heck of a point. I live the exact same way. That's how I operate too. And you know, I would, if there's any females that are watching the show, any woman that's listening, I think that would be something that a woman would respect. And a man that has that type of thought process, to be the provider for the family, to be the support of the family, you know what I mean, to be the head of the home, and relish that opportunity,
Mhm.
wants to have that type of opportunity to be that for his family. And
Absolutely.
I think that's a major positive for any man that wants to be in that position. And I would say for any man, never to abuse that position,
Right.
relish it, when you do have that. And it's why it's so important to have a spouse that supports you. I'm telling you,
Mhm.
if you don't have that, it's hell. You know what I mean? So, and I've seen it so many times, and and I would say, it's so important to be connected to the right person. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? It really is. Both of you are gonna have faults, but is that the right person? Do you all click spiritually, relationally, emotionally?
Right.
At times, you might be off at times, but if you're there most of the time and you want to, help your spouse, to give them what they want and need. If the communication is there, you're communicating those things, and you have a will to want to be a good spouse to them, man. Marriage should be easy. I know that's crazy to be saying it. It should be, but the way the world is, it makes it difficult.
Right. I
It
agree with
really
that as
does.
well.
The
I
world
think
makes things difficult.
I agree, man. Me and you got the same type of mindset for real, for real.
Yeah,
So the way I think about it also is that not only is marriage easy, but life is easy.
it
Like these
is.
things are easy, but
Yep,
we as people and society make it so hard.
it
So
does.
therefore, we put all of this pressure and stuff on us
Yep,
to the point to where we're in our head so much that we make things absolutely harder
that's
than
right.
what they should be.
That's a fact, sir. That's a fact. That's a
Yeah.
fact. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Uh,
And life is it's a learning experience, man. We learn every day. And when those roads are bumpy, it's not to keep running over those bumps, man. You got to put some proactive on it. You know what I mean? You got to do something to get them bumps down,
right.
and overcome those things. And marriages that my grandmother and my grandfather were married before he passed away, were married for like 60 years. And
Yeah.
they still had their ups and downs and things, and no question about it. But my grandmama did not give up on my grandfather. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Did not give up on him. And that's why they were married for so long. And I think that's a great thing. That's a great thing to look to. You know what I mean?
So
They
why do
kept
you think
it together.
why do you think people give up so quick now, or have been? This is
Yeah,
not a new thing, but
right. Because it's easy to give up, man. It's much easier to give up. At least you think that, it's easy to give up front, but later on, it impacts everybody. It impacts you, your family. If you have children, it definitely impacts them. But it's so easy to give up. I mean, you got, social media. You want to give up? Okay, I'll just go find somebody else. So,
right,
I can make it by myself. And there's so many things to get into now. We just have more access than we did in the past, so you can sort of see the world more. And I think that's what makes it like, you say you go to Instagram and you see couples loving each other and things, and you might visually be like, that's what I want, not maybe knowing what they are actually going through. You don't really
right.
know.
Like
But
everything on this social media for a reason. It's called that. Like
exactly,
they're putting on the show. I mean, some of the
exactly.
stuff is true, but a lot of it is real. It's all fake.
It is. It is. So it makes it seem like I'll just jump ship and I'll get this. And they'll come to find out grass is not green on the other side like people think, man. That's why, hey, fight tooth and nail if you can to hang in there with your spouse. You know what I'm saying? You really can. And God will reward you for those things, man. You know what I mean? See, God doesn't like divorce. Again, I'm a product of a divorce, and I've been divorced, and it produces challenges. You know what I'm
Uh,
saying? It does. It does.
I think that one thing also for anybody who's thinking about getting married to think about also is not to put yourself in your single mind, because
Yes,
that's behind you. If you're thinking
that's
about
right.
getting married, you're trying to go forward. Your single life is behind you. So what I mean by that is saying, like, if you and your girlfriend or you and your fiance or you and your wife in the first couple of years of marriage are having, rough patches and things like that. And you're like, man, I wouldn't have put up with this if you was, what I'm saying, my girlfriend. If I was single, I wouldn't have been put up with this. You would have been gone a long time ago. In your mind, you might not be saying that to the person, but you may be
That's
thinking
right.
like this. Because I've thought about a lot of stuff. I've done that before.
That's right.
But again, as you stated, that's the wrong mentality to have, because if you're moving forward, we don't take
Right.
backward steps. You need to keep
That's
going
right.
forward,
That's
and
right.
you fight for what you want. And if that's what you want, then you could definitely fight for it.
Lamar, that's a great point, man. That mentality piece.
Mhm.
Exactly. We all have those thoughts, especially if, going out and dating and doing those things has never really been a problem. If I'm not go out, I can get somebody right now if I want to, right?
Right.
If that's not been an issue, then yeah, you might have those type of thoughts like, well, cool, I just end this and get out there, and not realizing the impact that you're making by making that decision. It's a selfish decision. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? At the end of the day. And Lamar, I think what's so important, more than what people give credit to, is the information you put in your mind as
Mhm.
well, that convolutes those thoughts. And what I mean
Right.
is, what are you reading every day? What are you looking at every day? That's, again, biblically, based on what you see is what you feed into. And so
Right.
if you're looking at social media all the time about, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of some examples of a bunch of trash, right? Just junk all day. And that's all you sort of feed into. You don't even realize that it's playing in your mind. Some
Right.
people, I'll be all right, I can watch that or whatever. Okay, well, that's what you might think, but that's not always the case. You know what I'm saying? And so, it's like I'm real big on, okay, what's the type of content you're looking at? Are you looking at, I don't know, TV shows that's talking about how to do stocks and bonds, right? Okay, then the more you watch that, the more you're gonna probably learn something, right?
Right.
Are you
Right.
watching, say, are you watching maybe, something about church or something? Are you watching the word, listen to the word on YouTube or anything, or any type of positive messages that sort of help you through life and things like that? Are you getting that type of advice from friends? Or do you have friends that telling you, girl, or bro, you need to do your thing, dog? You know what I'm saying? There's so many around here, homie. You dig? Like, if you keep hearing those type of things, your mentality will feed into that. And then you have those thoughts when you're dealing with your spouse. Man, I just go
Right.
with my homies, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or, I know it's out there. I'll just get on my Instagram and DM somebody if I want to.
Right.
It's really based on what you put in your brain, man.
Yep.
What you
Absolutely.
see every day. Yep.
Yep. Yep. Good points. Good points.
Yep. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So now that the three questions are out of the way, is there anything else that you wanted to ask me, or anything openly that we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about?
Okay. I would say for you, what would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned about yourself since you've been married?
That I have been a selfish person the majority of my life.
Okay. Okay.
Of course, I think that's, I don't want to say it's cliche, because you should look out for yourself. You know what I'm saying? You should know who you are as a person before you get with somebody else, of course. But as I looked back over my life, I've noticed that every major decision that I've made, whether, saying that I was single or in a relationship with somebody, it was to benefit me and not the collective, if that makes sense.
I
So
understand, man.
that's one of the things that I've worked on
Okay.
over the years, and I've tried to go past all of that, being selfish, because like I said, we're married men, we have families,
Yeah,
every decision that we make affects a lot of people,
it does.
and not even just in our immediate household, but saying our circle, it
Yep.
affects people in our circle as well. So I
That's
would
right.
say that's the one thing that I've had to get over.
Okay. I got you. I understand, bro. I could probably say those same sentiments on my side too. I'll add to that too. Lamar, I would say for me is understanding the advice of others as well, to say, hey, they might be right about that. Is it for the longest time I always felt I was right about everything.
No,
You know what I'm
gotcha.
saying? And come to find out over time, well, maybe I didn't look at it correctly. Maybe I should have looked at it more in depth, and to be a bit more patient in my thought process, to be, instead of like, yeah, I'm right all the time. Maybe I'm not right. And maybe by me talking more and listening more, you learn to say, okay, maybe I was tripping. And again, sometimes that takes maybe, talking to friends, going to therapy, all those different things to realize, okay, what is it that I'm doing wrong to get these results? So I'm being a provider, I'm doing these good things and all those different things, and yet I'm not getting the results that I want, right? That I
Right.
feel I should deserve. And then sometimes you realize like, okay, well, just talking over people and looking at a different perspective, you have to be mature enough to accept that. And as a man, especially when you're young, full of pride, you know what I'm saying? Full of, I ain't gonna say it on here,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? Young, dumb, full of, you know what, right?
Yeah.
You just sort of think your way is right all the time. And, even teaching that with my sons, they're my sons, and they kind of do some of the same things I did as a young kid too. It's kind of stubborn in their way. And you guys don't know everything yet. I'm telling y'all, but you have to learn, and then you learn. And I didn't, again, growing up, my father was not there in the household. So you only can go off the experiences, and you get burned a few times in life. And then you'd be like, okay, yeah, I might not do that no more. Right. I've learned my lesson. And yep. Yeah,
and
man.
I think everybody's experiences are different, whether you had a mother and father in the home, or you came from a single parent household.
That's right.
Everybody's, we can all still relate to each other. So I think that's
right.
a good thing. So I think another good important thing that you said earlier was that, we're not in this by ourselves. Like, if you can talk or survey, 100 men, 100 married men, and I can guarantee you that probably 95 of them will probably say that they all have similar experiences with their marriages.
Yep, that's right. That's right. 100%. 100%. That's right, Lamar. That's a fact, sir. Everything you're saying is fire, bro. Fire. If I had a sound effect, I'd hit the fire sound effect right now. That is a fact. And I'm so blessed, even with my father now, that me and my father have a great relationship, man. You know what I mean? Just situations happened in the past, but I've learned a lot from him, just talking with him and things about life and things. So I'm very blessed to have him in my life. My mom was the best woman ever, in my opinion. My mom, and I think most men would probably think that about their mothers, but I would say that, even though they were not together, my mom was able to steer me the best way that she could. It's hard for a woman, you can't raise a man, but she did the best she could.
Right.
And,
right.
I'm, successful in my career. I'm married with children. I ain't in jail, I ain't locked up or nothing. I'm still living, in my 40s. So, God continues to continue to bless me, and it's all on him. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So it's not me. I'm just following his path, man. You know what I'm saying?
And that's another positive thing, man. Like you mentioned all of those different things that you, a good man, haven't been in jail, not doing drugs, you're taking care of your family. You know what I'm saying? These are all good things that we should be celebrating.
Exactly.
As men, you know what I'm saying?
But Lamar, man.
Yeah.
I think at times, man, like, I don't think it's as celebrated as it can be sometimes, man.
I agree. It should, but it should be.
It should be. And it's not to say you should get cookies for being a husband and all, and not saying that, but just be appreciative, because everyone has the will to do what they want or will not do, right? I could literally just walk in. I'm not doing nothing, period. I'm quitting my job today. I don't care about these bills. I'm just done with everything. It takes strength to get up every day, work every day, get kids, do these things, be a husband. It takes strength. You know what I'm saying? And so the prayer again is to have a spouse that not only understands that, but respects a man for that and loves him for that too. Man, it goes a long way with a man. Something small stuff goes a long way for us.
It does, man. It goes back to like the choices you make. You make choices every day. You choose to get up and go to work. You choose to take care of your family. You choose to come back home when it's time to come back home.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? There's so many other different things and ways that either men or women can go. But we're choosing to come back into this household together. Right. So let's fight to make it work.
Fight to make it work. That's right. That's right. That's a fact, man. That's fact. That's fact. So
you got anything else, brother?
Man, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm having a great time. I know we can't talk all day, because we could go, in so many different directions and things. But I'm trying to think of anything else. I know you brought this up too, and I agree. Where I think we both feel this way about how marriage can be simple. As crazy as that is. And the one thing we've not talked about, and this is a great thing that we haven't, because, we haven't said anything about sex. You know that? Not one thing we talked about that. No. Not one time. And so, I think sometimes that can be sort of convoluted in marriage too, about sex, like say over time, it's, where it might not happen as much and as often in things, because of life or
Right.
many other reasons or excuses. But I would say at the end of the day, man, have sex, damn it. Have sex, man. Like make love, have a lot of sex, like for real. You know what I'm saying? Like it makes a difference. Even when, women will think more of that's more for the man and blah, 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 blah. And, it's like a reward. No, it's for both people, man. Sex is
No,
for both. It's
absolutely.
rewarding for both people.
It
And
is.
it helps, affection in, like I said, love language, maybe affection, physical touch is my number one love language. And one other thing about 5 love languages that people might not understand until you get a little older, your love languages can change.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It can. And I've noticed a lot, your number one love language usually is about constant, but maybe at some point in your life, say for me, physical touch is number 1 and quality time is number 2. Mm-hmm. But maybe it is quality time now. But maybe acts of service might be number 2 for me now. You know what I'm saying? Like, just depends on what you're going, because people change, right?
Right.
That's where that communication comes to play. You know what I mean? For both spouses, man. So,
right.
So, yeah.
And like you said, like different circumstances happen throughout your life. Somebody may get sick, or
That's
somebody may have a better appreciation for you, so they might want to do more things for you, and vice versa. So, absolutely, definitely, those love languages definitely change.
Yeah, that's right. In my podcast, I always say when somebody brings up a hell of a point, facts, no paper. That's right.
Facts, no paper.
Facts, no paper. Facts, no paper.
Man, you had brought up something else that I was going to try to mention or speak on, but I lost it. It was talking about the sex part.
Okay.
And I can't remember exactly.
I have a lot of it.
Well,
that part?
Okay. No, not that. I agree with, but no, it wasn't.
It should not be used as a pawn by either spouse, man. Should be a joyous time. Okay.
So, I was going to say, so I'm not a doctor.
Okay.
But through my readings of online dictionaries and stuff like that, so it may be true, it may not be true, but not only is sex, for reproduction, but it also is for chemical, you know what I'm saying? It evens you back out, I would say, in my mind. Whenever you're in the act and you're both engaged and not one is just laying there or one is just doing it just to do it or whatever, but when it's done correctly, it can release so much stuff. Like it releases stress, it eases the muscles and the tension and everything like that. It also, brings the two of you together even more.
That's right.
Without even saying a word. I mean, or you can just hold each other. It doesn't always have to be about sex. It can just be just holding each other. You know what I'm saying? And
that's right.
A hug can say so much more than probably 1,000 words.
That's true. But man, I'm gonna say a big component of that too, man, is like I say, it's not the act of sex. That's a fact. What you're saying is, as far as that, is intimacy. And you have to have 2 mature people. I think intimacy is screwed up when you have a spouse or both spouses who are resentful of each other and are not forgiving, right? I don't give a damn who you are. To make your marriage work, maybe I should have said this earlier, you have to have a forgiving spirit at the end of the day. You have to understand that your spouse is going to make mistakes, right? It could be small mistakes. You can't hold that against them forever, man. I mean, it's you can't do that. I mean, again, that's even biblical, holding that against your spouse. You can't hold on to wrongdoings. You have to let that thing go. And the more you hold on to things, what happens to you then is, again, you're not going to have as much intimacy. And even though you think you holding out for them, you're really hurting yourself, right? Secondly, as well, you're putting yourself even physically in a situation where you might be, stressed out, you're going through things, your mental, your blood pressure goes up, those things. So marriages can be beautiful, if 2 people are willing to be forgiven and willing to be, have more intimacy with each other. Again, it might not be about sex. It could just be a simple, hey, I love you every day. Or I give you a kiss when I see you. Smack you on your ass when I see you. You know what I'm saying? Anything, any playful thing, any type of intimacy that person is going to give because they're my spouse. They're not just a friend or a cut buddy. This is my spouse, and I'm giving you time. That time is important to me. Time is more important than anything. My time is important, man.
Absolutely.
Man.
You can't get it back.
Can't get it back. Can't get it back. So I'm giving you that time and that intimacy, man. You know, I would want that reciprocated. When that happens, man, beautiful things can happen, man.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I'm glad that you all are together and you find that time and you make things work for you and your
Yep.
family. And that's like you said, it's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, it is, man. It is. It is, man. It is.
Well,
Yep.
brother, I'm going to give you some time also now to
Okay.
promote your podcast and what you have going
Sounds good.
on.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Well, Lamar,
So
first, I just want to say thank you, my good brother, you know, for inviting me to the show and everything, man. I've enjoyed myself. I
good.
love communicating things. You know, you and me have had many cigar nights, you know
Yes,
what I mean?
sir.
The cigars and cognac nights. So great conversations at that time. You know, we've been talking about this, so I've been very glad to do this. As well, too, for those that, you know, like loves football. I have a podcast. It's Tennessee Titans Weekly. We are on YouTube. You know, our following is growing like crazy. We have an Apple podcast with it, a Spotify podcast. You can even type Tennessee Titans and it'll pop up. We'll have the big red icon for Tennessee Titans Weekly. So check us out on that. And even for life experiences and learning how to be a man. I also have a podcast called From a King's Point of View, not a man's point of view, a king's point of view. We're two kings that you're looking at right here. Two
That's
kings.
right.
You know, operators, man, we operate as kings. So those are the podcasts that we do have. And we even sell merchandise as well, too, for the Tennessee Titans Weekly. So we're doing a lot of things in that regard, too, man. So been able to interview a lot of players and things, and it's been a great experience, man.
That's good. So before we jump off, I'm going to
Yes.
ask you how you think the Tennessee Titans going to do this year then?
I think they have a great opportunity to definitely go far in the playoffs. They play their cards right on defense. They have the offense to go to the Super Bowl. So I'm not saying that because I'm a fan, because I've never even said that about us going to the Super Bowl. Because if that was the case, I'd say that every year, we're going to the Super Bowl. But we have the talent. So we shall see. I mean, communication, as we've been talking about, is key. And so the offense and defense needs to communicate a bit better on the field, and the results will happen.
Sounds good. So Tennessee Titan Weekly, From a King's Point of View.
Yep.
To sum it up, from men and marriage
Check us
point
on
of
Instagram. Check us on Instagram at Tennessee Titans Weekly. And even my personal Instagram as well is at icecold_LH3. Holla at your boy.
There you go.
Yep.
So from a men and marriage point of view, to sum everything up, I know we talked about a lot and a lot of good stuff and a lot of good information that came out of this. Good to find you a life partner, to want somebody that you can grow with, pray with, prepare yourself to be with, and prepare yourself to be the best you when you wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
We was talking about how man controls the marriage and how the man sets the tone for the marriage and the woman receives that from the man and then gives it back. We was talking about how to have, before you even get into marriage, things you should be equally yoked on. Whether it be children, how you're going to support each other, finances, and things.
Very important, man. If it's
absolutely.
not there, there's going to be problems. I guarantee you. If you're not yoked, it's going to be a problem.
We talked about how marriage exposes your weaknesses, and how you can continue to grow from that together and not just by yourself, and how you're not by yourself, and that there's, a world full of men who thinks exactly like you right now.
Yes,
and that there's millions of men who actually want to talk about the things that we're talking about right now.
That's right.
So don't be afraid to reach out to somebody. Go to counseling or talk to your close friends, somebody that you support, or that can support you. And don't hold all of that stuff in, because it's going to affect you physically. You don't want to leave this earth before it's your time.
That's a hell of a recap, Lamar. We put it all in a box of the things that we discussed. That's exactly what it sounds like, man.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, again, my name is Lamar Dixon. I'm with my guest, Lorenzo Hawkins. This is episode number 5 of Men in Marriage. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Give us a like, subscribe, give us a comment what you'd like for us to talk about in the future episodes, or even what you liked or did not like about this conversation that we had today.
Absolutely. And I would say again, be intimate with your spouse. Understand their love language. Men, be sensitive to your wife's needs. Wives, understand your husband, and have a lot of sex. Have a lots of sex as well
Lots
too.
of sex. Yeah,
Lots
lots of
of
sex.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
All right. Well, I appreciate you for coming on again.
Thank you kindly, sir. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir.